time started. Just need to wait till you know he starts going.
Good evening, everyone. I think everybody's back in the tours. Anybody lost? Or missing? Or just admiring the facilities longer? I'd like to call the meeting to order. We start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to IESB Starved Rock Division meeting. My name is Austin Taylor with Peru Elementary. I serve as your newly appointed interim division director as Jim McCabe has retired. I would like to thank everybody for coming, and we're grateful to have, let's see where we are, excuse me. I suppose I should start with some introductions first. So I'd like to introduce current members of the Starved Rock Executive Committee. Not with us tonight, our Director, Laura Hine, and Chair, Dr. Earl Golchi. Here with us is Mary Gannier, Vice Chair, Carol Alcorn, Resolutions Chair, and not with us is Stephen Ersha, say that, thank you. And our IESA representative, Dr. Dan Seneca. So thanks for your time and commitment in planning this meeting while keeping membership in mind. Certificates of appreciation for your service during the 23 to 25 term are at the registration table. So if anybody did not pick that up, please see Nancy Johnson in the back. At this time, I'd like to invite Board President Ron Fry and Superintendent Dr. Dan Stecken forward.
Welcome to Seneca High School. I appreciate you guys coming out tonight for our tours, getting to see a little piece of heaven, what we call Irish Pride and the Seneca Way. We're very, very proud of the school and appreciate you coming out to be here tonight. You saw some amazing murals that our Superintendent Student Committee has designed, created, worked with local graphic designers and local advertising agencies. Mike Schmidt out of LaSalle of MCS has a flyer outside if you'd like to bring some of that and incorporate it into your own school. I know Steve's used them at LP as well. So we're very proud of our Irish Pride. And as my superintendent colleagues sit here, you know that none of that happens without the support of your Board of Education. I'm very blessed to have some of my board members here tonight. Mr. Ron Fry, our board president, Mr. Corey Andel, Tiffany Biros, and Joe Johnson. Joe is, thank you. I've been very fortunate to have a supportive Board of Education in my early career as a superintendent, and one man in particular, Joe Johnson, has been on the Board of Education at Seneca High School for 20 years now. And this month will be Joe's last rodeo with me. So Joe, if you'd come forward, please, I have a little something for you. Thank you for coming tonight.
A few more introductions. Tonight, this evening, we have IASB statewide officer and immediate past president Simon Campbell Jr.,
We have Associate Executive Director of Outreach, Training, and Events, Lori Grant. We have Associate Executive Director of Governmental Relations, Sarah Miller. And our Star Rock Outreach and Training Director, Dr. Marlana Badar. We would also like to thank, I'm not sure if they're in attendance tonight or not, Service Associate Bernardi Security, as well as division meeting sponsors this year. Again, we're grateful and thankful for their support. Ameren, Illinois, S.M. Wilson and Company, and Stiefel. Thank you again. And now I'll welcome immediate past President Simon Camper Jr. for a division report.
Thank you, Austin, and good evening, everybody. I'm Simon Campworth. I serve on the Crew Elementary School District, and I'm honored to be here as your immediate past president association. And I just want to give a shout out after Austin just had said, Steve, it was good to see Kevin. Good to see you, buddy. I'm happy that you're here, and thank you for your support with Steve. Austin is stepping into an exciting role. So congratulations to you, sir, and you will get your first taste of your first board meeting this weekend, so hang on, the fun will start. But I want to just quickly say thank you to the executive committee. I do understand and realize it is not easy work, especially when you are a resolutions chair. So Carol, thank you for what you do. Board of directors can only be good as a whole for what is brought to it. So when your director, which is now will be Austin, will be bringing all your concerns from the Star Rock Division. I was in Troy, Illinois last night at the Southwestern Division, and extremely excited to hear how they felt about their division and about how they felt about they were truly feeling represented at the state level. So in part of that representation of the state level, our President Mark Harms has enacted a Constitution Committee, which is currently reviewing the Constitution from cover to cover. The members are Board of Directors, Resolution Committee members, and members at large. And I commend Mark because he truly has representation throughout the state as we're going through this process. We have about maybe 2 more meetings, and we should have it wrapped up to the point where the Board of Directors will see the recommendations in June. And once that's done, it will be out to membership. And any potential changes to the Constitution will be brought from the Delegates Assembly at the Joint Annual Conference in November. Another large effort that the association and our board's goal has been related to engagement. And one piece of that is, yes, division meetings. Last fall, we were able to host legislative events at many of the divisions, and the ones that I've attended, as well as the other officers, they were very meaningful to truly have your local legislators there and to listen to the concerns of what's going on truly from the people that they are there to represent. But that being said, unfortunately, we're having consistent decline in attendance in division meetings. So this coming weekend, as well as in June, the Board of Directors are going to be looking at what will division meetings look like in the future. More to come, but I stress to all of you, those that come to these, if you see need in these and you realize this is our way for professional development, let somebody know. Let Austin know. Let Arlana know. Let me know. Anybody with the association of how you feel about them, the good, the bad. What else would you like to see? More webinars, for example. But as we're moving forward as association, member engagement is the top goal that we are trying to make sure we're reaching out to get to our members what they need. And speaking of what they may need, in a couple weeks, now we're in days, we're going to be having a little election coming up. And some of our boards are going to be seeing some new members. We'll be losing some. And thank you again for your service. So when that happens, embrace that. Understand that your association that we're all a part of as board members can help us with those transitions with new board members. If it's in-person training, if it's webinars, or the biggest thing is we all have to go through that mandated training, association can take care of that for you. But be welcoming, even though that person might not be on board at first, we'll say, but welcome them and provide them the tools to help better govern. That's the whole point of why we're there. We're there to be able to provide better board governance, which at the end of the day can result in better student outcome. So those that are running and are unopposed, any out here running that are unopposed? Karen and Carol, well, congratulations and good luck. Thank you for your service, and for everybody here, again, I truly appreciate what you do for your communities. Dr. Dan, this is the first time you're not yelling at me since I was an umpire for you for a while. At least I can now say thank you for what you've done here. You've really produced a space for your students that they can truly exceed and want to be at school because of the facilities you provided, so thank you. And again, thank you guys for what you do for your communities and your schools, but most importantly, what you do for your students. I'd now like to bring up Lori Grant, our Director of Outreach and Training.
Good evening. I lead the Outreach, Training, and Events team, and it is my pleasure to be here. I'm speaking on behalf of Kimberly Small, who is our Executive Director. She's at another division meeting up north, the South Fork meeting, but so grateful to Seneca High School for hosting. What a beautiful space. And if you didn't get to take the tour, I hope you get to walk around. Wow. Wow. Just beautiful. So thank you for hosting, and for the students, they're not in here, but delightful. So I'm gonna, Simon alluded to this, but how many of you have at least one new board member that you know will be arriving in T-minus 16 days? At least one. How about two? Oh boy. Three. At least three new board members. Do I have four? At least four new board members. Okay, so many of you will have 1, 2, 3 new board members at your table, and I just want to let you know that we will be ready. IASB is ready to deliver training to your new board members. We have actually revamped all of it because our videos still had references to COVID in it from 2023, and we don't want that anymore. So it's all been revamped, renewed, and every bit of mandated training that your new board members are required to have, and some that is good to have, but not necessarily mandated, we are ready. And when they get registered in our website, they can register for the bundle and all the mandated training that they need. Starting about mid-April, they will be able to take. Speaking of that as well, training, all the webinars, all the opportunities, but conference is coming. We are preparing for conference, and we just had almost 92 submissions from school districts around Illinois for proposals to present a joint annual conference. They were due March 1st, and they are in the review process right now, and we are extremely excited because we have an amazing lineup already for joint annual conference. So please encourage your new board members, and we encourage you also to attend that in November 21st to the 23rd in Chicago. And along with that, we also started a scholarship program last year, and we are updating that as well. And there will be scholarship opportunities for board members to attend conference, especially if they haven't been there in the past. So we are so thrilled to bring that opportunity back again this year. Additionally, we, how many of you know where to click on your profile on our website? Anyone? Simon? Good? So if you go to our website, the top right-hand corner, press member login, you click on that, you all have a profile as a board member. And we are encouraging our board members to update that profile. And you all know better than anyone the importance of data. And we are looking to update our data, not to market to you, but to better serve you and make sure we are providing the resources and the content that you need. So if you could go in and update your profile, encourage your new board members to do the same. We have an incentive, $75 Amazon gift card. You don't all get one, but we're having a drawing, one in each division, of those that update their profile by September 20th. You will all be put in the drawing. And then also, if your entire board updates its profile by September 20th, you will be put in a drawing for our joint annual conference reserved seating at general session all together, so you don't have to fight people to go sit. And then finally, ISB, Illinois State Board of Education, they are hosting listening tours right now, and we just want to advocate for that. If you go to their website, they're listening tours on updating their assessment programs. They would love to hear from you, especially from districts, from superintendents, from board members. So go take a look at the ISB site. There are listening tours happening in April and in May, and we encourage you to join them. And I see Sarah Miller is in the house. She has arrived. So I would, again, thank you. Thank you, Seneca High School. Thank you, board members, and anything we can do to support you, please let us know. And here's Sarah Miller from Government Relations.
So just 1 second to get the PowerPoint on. You know, while Arlen is doing that, I do want to talk really quickly. I missed the first part of this, but I did want to mention the resolutions process. We're going to send out a notice that resolutions can be submitted in mid-April, and then you'll have until probably, I think, mid-June sometime to submit resolutions. And it keeps going to the AI. I cannot talk to you about AI. I promise you. We're all set. What do I need to do? Yeah, new slide. This is why I cannot talk to you about AI. I'm not a technology person, and I still take notes by hand, so I'm not on board yet, but I know it's big and we're getting there. So yeah, I just wanted to mention the delegate process. We are putting out the call to resolution soon, and it's an amazing process for those of you that have submitted a resolution or have thought about it. It really does guide our work, and sometimes it may not be an issue that we can work on right now, but like last year there was a resolution, there was a district that was really having trouble finding health insurance, and they submitted a resolution to possibly allow districts to be included in a state health insurance plan. And we had a senator or a House of Representative member approach us and say that was something that he was interested in doing and file a bill, and we've been supporting him. So there are pathways, so it might not be something that we can do right away, but we can really get the conversation going and start directing legislators and people that are interested in the things that are of interest to districts in a certain way. So that's going to be happening soon, and then I'm going to dive really into the state legislation, but I did want to mention, as you probably know, there's a lot going on at the federal level right now. There's been a lot of executive orders coming down, and we did reintroduce our federal newsletter, which has been relatively short up until last week. There's usually 1 or 2 things that happen at the federal level, education related. But we did send out a newsletter last Monday night, so if you did not see that, we really did our best to summarize all of the executive orders that have come down. There was a Dear Colleague letter, so please take a look at that. And I will share with you, Kimberly asked me just to share with you that we are monitoring everything, and we will let you know as information becomes available. I know the State Board of Education is sending out information as well. But we are in constant communication with ISB, with our partner organizations like IASA, and we will provide information as it becomes available. But right now, I think just the general consensus is to take a measured approach to what's going on. There's been a lot of executive orders and then a lot of lawsuits filed. So we are watching it, and we will communicate. So I do just want to talk a little bit about the state legislation that's going on. This is our team. Please feel free to contact us. We are right in the heart of the legislative season, so we might not get back to you right away, but we will get back to you. So these are our priorities this year, really prioritizing EBF funding, but we're also looking at MCATs. And for those of you that aren't as familiar with MCATs, when they redid the evidence-based funding formula, they really tried to put all of the outside grants into the evidence-based funding formula, but there were some things that they just couldn't fit in there. So there's some things that are funded outside of EBF, and those include, especially for some of our rural districts and our bigger suburban districts, transportation, special education transportation, and then special education private facilities. Those are very, very expensive things for our districts. And what we have seen, and I'm going to talk about that more in a minute, but we've really seen a reduced commitment to that piece of the state funding, and it's really impacting our districts, and districts are absorbing that more of that locally. So really at ISB, we're focusing on funding, school safety, and of course local control flexibility. And I just wanted to mention some of the other conversations that are ongoing. We are participating in those conversations as well, and a lot of this overlaps with our Vision 2030 work, if any of you followed that. So I wanted to talk for a minute about Pritzker's proposed budget. It was a very, very tight budget year this year. There was originally a proposed deficit. The numbers came out a little bit better right before his speech, but still there had to be cuts from what we've seen in the past. We've seen some pretty good budget years in the past that have really been helped by the federal funding that we've got that really isn't there anymore. So we did see $350 million to EBF, and as you know, Pritzker has really been committed to this teacher vacancy grant, so he did find money to fund this in its third and final year. And then really importantly, there is a federal safe harbor issue with the current Tier 2 pension plan, and they have been talking about this for the past decade and have not done anything on this. There's been a lot of talk about those benefits in the Tier 2 pension plan. Under the Tier 2, I don't know if you remember, but they raised the retirement age for teachers from 55 to 67. So it's now the highest retirement age in the country. So a lot of discussion has been ongoing about that. But this really only goes towards this federal safe harbor provision, which is really important because we do not want to violate federal law. So this wouldn't get us all the way there, but the thought is to kind of put a down payment and work towards addressing that, but legislation would need to be enacted to really address it. But like I said, for MCATs, that's something we're really focused on, and I'll just show you this really quick kind of rundown of how it's been prorated. So the last time that you've been fully funded for your transportation and special education facility costs is 2010. So what we've seen is over the years, it's been prorated, and prorated even further. This money, or this year rather, there's been so many increases in claims that they would have needed to put an additional $120 million into the budget just to stay at those levels, and they did not. So next year, you're going to see that proration going down even further. So this is something we've been talking to legislators about, and if you want to communicate to that's just as important as EBF. We really encourage that. But we're starting to get a lot of questions from districts. Like, this is a huge chunk of funding, and we're getting less and less and less each year. That's falling on our local property taxpayers. So just something to communicate with your legislators if you do reach out to them and meet with them. So getting onto some bills, I want to highlight a couple of these bills. I'm not going to talk about all of them, but in the governor's budget address, he did throw out that he's supporting a cell phone ban. And even before that happened, we saw 5 bills filed already. This was a really hot topic. It was actually one of our resolutions this year. What we have been communicating to legislators is that we don't need legislation on this. Our districts can and do have policies on this. It's actually, there's a part in your discipline code, you might not even know it, that we have an IAS press policy that really addresses cell phones. Nonetheless, this is a really hot topic for legislators, and there were 5 bills. There's one additional that was filed, and the one, SB 2427 by Senator Castro, is the one that's going to take the lead. So we've been negotiating it. It is going to happen now that everyone has enough momentum. So we have really been pushing for as much flexibility as possible. And I just sent a long email yesterday. Can we have this, and this? So really trying to give you guys as much flexibility. The way you treat cell phones in high school is going to be very different than what you do for a kindergartner. And one district might want to buy those younger pouches and invest that money and keep them in the office. I know other districts say, put your cell phone in a shoebox when you come into the room, and that works for them. So we're just trying to give as much flexibility as possible for districts to handle this. The other one I will mention is student discipline. This is a really, really big initiative of ISB. I will just tell you, on all of our legislative events, the one thing I heard from districts across the state is they're really struggling with student discipline and safety issues at the school. This discipline bill puts a lot of restrictions on K2 suspensions and expulsions. It would actually prohibit any expulsions at the K2 level, and I'll tell you, there's only 3 that happened last year. And it also puts a lot of kind of, not barriers, but for any suspension more than 3 days, only the superintendent would be able to would have to approve that for it to happen. We're very sensitive to this young age group, but we're also getting more and more feedback on the impact of the other kids that are in the class. And when classrooms have to evacuate, what happens? And what if we try and offer services and the parents just won't take it? And this child continues to cause issues. So we have been talking about this a lot, but this is a really big initiative with Dr. Tander, so just something to keep an eye on. And the last thing I wanted to talk about is mandate reform. So we've had some movement. We met all summer, went through the school code. We're trying to reduce and eliminate some redundant mandates. But one of the things that's really good about this particular bill is it puts together this mandate reduction council. And one of the things we really want to focus on for any of you that have high schools in your district, we're really trying to take a look at the curriculum requirements, because we're hearing more and more that kids just don't have enough time for electives, for career pathways, for those types of things. And as much as we say that, yet again this year, we saw a new computer science mandate for an entire year of computer science. We've communicated we don't have the teachers, we don't have the pipeline of teachers, and we don't have the space. So if we're gonna take a look at new mandates, we gotta also talk about taking some out. So that's where we're heading, and we actually have a representative who has a bill to do just that. It's been 20 years since that's been done. So we're really hoping to have that conversation. And this was, I hope, not more than 5 minutes, but tomorrow, actually, we have advocacy ambassadors. We do meet once a month and do a much deeper dive. This is just a drop in the ocean of what's going on in Springfield right now. So we talk about it for about 30, 40 minutes and then answer questions. So it's really informal. So if any of you are really interested in all the stuff that's going on in Springfield or have something on your mind, please join us. It's a great group of people, and we have some really great conversations. So I think that's it. And I forgot to get my script, Arlana, and so I do not know who I'm supposed to introduce next. All right. Thanks.
Thank you, Sarah. As Simon alluded, I do not have a director's report. That might be good news. But I'm just stepping into that role. I promised that fall division meeting I'll have a report as they onboard me and get me up to date. But I'd like to take just a moment and thank Jim McCabe. I know he's not here tonight, but he put many years of service both at the local board level as well as the region and the director level. So thank you, Jim. Also, I saw somebody sneak in late. I take a moment to recognize Jamie Craven, who is retiring, coming up here at the end of the school year. So Jamie has many years of service as well that I have not kept total track of, right? But a full career. Thank you, Jamie. I will bring up Resolutions Chair Carol and Elmer. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you. It's good to be here tonight. I have heard a great deal about Seneca High School. I grew up in LP, and you always heard Seneca. I've never been there. Thank you for the invitation. It's wonderful. Fantastic facility. Do you still do t-shirt printing?
School?
Yeah. Years ago, I got some t-shirts done, and they said some class here.
Oh, yeah, we used to have a group.
Yeah. Don't do that anymore? Okay. Just thought I'd ask.
Do a lot of great things.
Yeah, I really thank you for your work and for your attendance. It's a really big process in November, is it not? There's a lot of moving pieces and a lot of things that happen, and we'd like to thank each of you for being part of that. Starbright, as I've sat at the meeting and seen all the resolutions come across, I've noticed that Starbright has not had one resolution. Are we so happy? So I'd like to encourage you to think about mandates, think about things that you would like to do. If we're all happy, then that's fine, but there's got to be issues in Starbright Division that we can address. So I thank all of you. On the back of your brochure or material tonight is all the information about the resolutions process and how you can go about doing that. By and large, do your boards talk about the resolutions that are sent to you? Do you? You do? Okay, very good. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. If I haven't had the opportunity to meet you before, I'm Arlene Bedard, and I'm the Director of Outreach and Training for the Stark Rock region. I wanted to just take a moment to give another shout out to our Seneca friends. Wonderful opportunity. Thank you for this. For this particular segment, I would like to move into our board leader recognition piece. And I just want to mention that in your handout, you do have the list of all the individuals and school boards that may be recognized this evening, or will be recognized. So we're pleased to honor the Board Leader Recognition Program recipients. The purpose of the Board Leader Recognition Program is to recognize school board members that have made a commitment to learning and leadership activities provided by the association and for service to the public education community. By attending IASB events and learning activities, members accrue points automatically. The established level requires 200 points, distinguished 400 points, and once achieving the distinguished level, it takes 40 additional points each year to obtain annual merit. Would all of those who are listed in these categories, could you please stand so we can give you some applause for all your commitment and hard work. Thank you. And congratulations. Legacy level annual merit members have obtained the distinguished level of 400 points, served 25 years or more, and continue to earn 40 points each year. Would our legacy annual merit members please stand? Deborah Black and Karen Fisher. This is your moment. Congratulations and thank you. As you can see, the Starbright Division has a wonderful legacy of engagement and lifelong learning. Thank you for your active participation in IASB activities, and congratulations to everyone. Now I'm going to turn the mic back over to Austin, who will introduce our main speaker for the evening.
So our featured speaker tonight, Mark Henderson, serves as Director of Digital Initiatives at the Missouri School Boards Association. He leads their AI advisory group and spearheads the creation of the AI toolkit for K through 12 education. Mark has presented on AI's impact in education at major conferences across the country, including Chicago, Dallas, Kansas City, and Minneapolis. With a background as a high school English teacher and extensive experience in educational and corporate technology, Mark brings a unique blend of classroom insight and tech expertise to his work in advancing AI in schools. Please help me welcome Mr. Mark Henderson.
So I want this to be a positive experience for all of you, and I don't want you to wake up in the morning with a literal pain in your neck. So if you want to like move your chair that way, because you're going to be looking up there a lot, I don't want you to go, that guy's a pain in the neck, literally. So it's great to be here. I've been spending some time in Illinois lately, and I loved it. I was at the conference in Chicago in November. That was awesome. And I did a webinar for you guys, and now I'm thrilled to be here. So I got a lot of information to cover. I'm going to go kind of fast, but these slides are available to you on the Starved Rock IASB page. If you don't know how to get there, you can ask one of the IASB folks. Feel free to take a picture of the slides too if you want. But I don't have a lot of time. I could talk about this for 8 hours, honestly, not finish. It also changes fast, so it could be outdated by the time I'm done. So I do want to let you know, as I mentioned, we have this free AI toolkit. It's a totally free resource. You don't have to sign up for it. There's no ads. It's just something that we in Missouri put together because we saw a need for it. There's a lot of information in there, a lot of writing, videos, resources, all kinds of stuff. Webinar I did, podcast interview I did. So check that out. Like I said, it's totally free. Share it with everybody. So I'm curious, I'd like a show of fingers, where do you think you are in terms of AI knowledge? So number one's like, I don't even know what it is. I thought it was here to learn about how. And 5 is like, I'm a pro, I got this. So let's see some fingers there. And if it's 1, be careful which finger that you use. All right. 1, I see a little bit of, I don't know if I saw 5. Did I see 5? I saw a little bit of everything except 5. I would not call myself a 5, honestly, because people will say, oh, he's the AI expert. I'm like, whoa, no, I don't know if anybody's an AI expert, but I'm certainly not one. But I've spent a lot of time the last couple of years reading about it, talking to people, going to conferences, playing around with it to try to understand it and its role in schools today, all right? So, the good news about all this is you don't need to be a tech wizard to understand what I'm gonna tell you. I'm not a super IT guy. I was an English teacher. I'm trying to explain this as simple as I can. There's a lot of it I don't understand when it comes to the technology. You don't have to understand how all of it works. You don't have to take it all in at once. It's gonna feel a little overwhelming. It probably has felt overwhelming, but that's okay, all right? You just kind of dip your toe in the water, all right? So we're gonna quickly go through 4 parts of this. I wanna help everybody kind of get on a level playing field of what AI is, very basic terms, and then we're gonna get into the roles they can play for teachers, and then the roles they can play for students, and finally, what can districts do, especially your school boards, right? What can you do right now with the knowledge that you're about to get? And as I mentioned, the slides will be available for you on the webpage. All right, all these graphics you're gonna see were made by ChatGPT, so I don't know whether they're good or bad. I don't get credit for them. I just told them what to do. All right, so part 1, let's just talk about some basics of what is AI, artificial intelligence. Super simple terms as possible. It's computer systems that are capable of performing tasks that are traditionally require human intelligence. Things that we think of as, in the past, it would require a human brain to do. Now, they don't. So I really like this. I don't know who said it originally, but AI is like a brain without a mind. So this is kind of a good way to say, like, how is AI like humans? How is it not like humans? It can do things like process information. It can recognize patterns. It can perform tasks. But you know what it can't do? It can't think for itself. It can't feel emotions. It can't have personal experiences, things like that. So that's what it means when it says it's a brain without a mind. It doesn't have all that context. So as I said, I've talked to a lot of people. I've read a lot of things in the last couple of years about AI. I hear a lot of misunderstandings over and over. So I like to start with 5 myths about AI. Maybe you've had them, maybe you've heard them, maybe you can help correct people on them, okay? Number 1, AI is new. Not true. AI has been around a long time. This is the very first chatbot, which debuted in 1966. It's called Eliza. It's supposed to be a psychotherapist. Now you might be wondering, how was there a chatbot before there was the internet? Well, Eliza was only on one computer. You had to go to Eliza and talk to her. It's kind of interesting that we've been personifying these AI bots since the beginning, right? Alexa, Siri, Eliza. We use AI all the time, right? You might not think about it, but these are some common ways that we use AI, right? Social media algorithms, virtual assistants, like I mentioned, Siri and Alexa, GPS, I used that to get here. I wouldn't have gotten here if it wasn't for GPS. Well, let me tell you, chatbots on websites, there's some good chatbots, but 90% of them are terrible and worthless because they haven't been really trained by the humans to get information. Like I went to the hotel website and I asked the chatbot, what time is check-in? And he goes, I don't know what you're asking me. I don't understand. Like, come on. Also predictive text, right? If you're using your phone or you're typing and it starts to say, oh, I think you're gonna say this. My phone always thinks I'm gonna use the word ducking for some reason. I don't know why, but it does. All right, myth number 2 is this big debate about, is AI good, is AI bad, is AI evil? None of it's true. It's not any of those things. AI is a tool. I always compare it to a hammer, right? Hammers aren't good, hammers aren't bad. They're just tools. Now, people can do good things and bad things with hammers, but you don't blame the hammer, right? AI is the same way. It's not about the tool, it's about the people using it and their intent. Number 3, myth is robots are taking over the world. So many people base their impression of AI on science fiction, movies, and books. Keyword fiction, right? This stuff isn't real. This is not the world we're living in. Humans are still in charge. Yes, we have advanced technology, but the technology can't take over the world. It can't go rogue on us, right? Humans are still in charge. Keep that in mind. Myth number 4 is we're all gonna lose our jobs to AI, right? There's a big fear about that. And here's the key. This is one study. The University of Penn said 80% of the US workforce will have their jobs affected by AI in the next 5 years. So what's affected mean? Some jobs will go away. There'll be new jobs created. And a lot of our jobs will change what we do, how we do things. This is kind of, if you look through history, when it comes to technology advances, this is pretty common. For example, before they had electricity everywhere, they had these people who would go light the lamps, the oil lamps at night. And then when electricity was everywhere, they didn't need lamp lighters anymore. But guess what? Those people went to work for the power company. So some jobs change and evolve. AI is the same way. Now, this is just one example, but you need to embrace it to an extent, at least be open-minded to it. It's not that AI is going to take all the jobs away, but being able to use it on the job is going to give you an advantage, okay? So if you're on a job interview and they say, what do you think of AI? Try to be positive, even if you don't truly think it, right? What about teachers? This is a website called willrobotstakemyjob.com, and you can see the top search jobs, and teacher is the top search job, at least the day I was there. But the good news is when you actually dig into it, teaching is not, it's pretty future-proof. People aren't really gonna lose their jobs in this area to AI. In fact, they're gonna see some growth there, which I think we should be promoting this. You know, there's so many people, young people, who are like, I gotta choose a career that's not gonna be obsolete in a few years. Well, how about teaching? Teaching's not going anywhere. There's actually potential there for growth, for stability, for human interaction, right? We should be promoting these things. This is a guy named Doe Winkle, and I know it sounds like a fairy tale character, but he's a real guy. I got to talk to him once, but he put some really insightful stuff on LinkedIn about AI. He said this better than I could. He said, AI won't replace great teachers. It will replace those who resist change. AI shares info, but you shape character. AI can analyze data, but can't build trust. AI assists learning, but you guide growth. AI gives answers, but you spark curiosity. AI tracks progress, but you celebrate wins. So this is a nice reassuring message for teachers, right? Yes, AI is already in education. It's going to keep growing. It's going to become more and more involved. But the idea of a robot teaching our kids, it's not realistic. We're always going to need those humans, all right? Myth number 5 is it's easy to spot an AI deepfake. This is a classic deepfake of the Pope wearing his big puffy coat here. The Pope is a pretty cool guy, but that's not a real picture. They did a study. Most people think they can spot a deepfake, but 56% of Americans can't tell the difference. And I gotta tell you, I think I'm pretty savvy, but I've fallen for some too. So let's do a little test right now. I'm gonna show you 4 pictures of this young lady. I know it's kind of far away, but I'm gonna ask you which one do you think is fake in just a second. We'll raise our hands and vote. So study those pictures. All right, raise your hand if you think A is AI. A is not a real. Okay, what about B? A few more. C? All right, and D. D looks like D had the most votes. Now I thought D looked like the most realistic because she's not like perfectly centered. But guess what? They're all AI. She's not a real person. She doesn't exist. These are all AI generated. And you know, when I started doing this 2 years ago, we could talk about count the fingers because AI always puts the wrong number of fingers on the hand, or look for weird blurry spots in the background. But you can't rely on that anymore. It's too good now. It's all about critical thinking. Now these, not much context there, but when you scroll through social media and you see videos and pictures and stuff, you know, it's not enough to just look and go, does that look fake? You have to ask yourself, like, does this make sense? Did this person say this? Would this person do this? Is this a legitimate source? Things like that. With that, we need to be teaching our kids. So those are the 5 myths. Deep fakes, I hope everybody knows what a deep fake is. It's when somebody takes your image or your voice and they make something of you that's not really you. This can be really bad. This is a story. Last year in Baltimore, there was an athletic director who was mad at the principal, so he took some audio of the principal. By the way, you only need 3 seconds of your voice to make a convincing deepfake. There's probably 3 seconds of all of you on the internet somewhere. So he made this terrible audio of the principal saying really racist stuff, and then he spread it online. And fortunately, they were able to prove it wasn't real, and he got arrested, and I think it's still tied up in court. But unfortunately, the principal's reputation in the community was ruined. Like, he had to leave town because everyone looked at him differently, even though they proved, like, I didn't see those things. That was fake. It was, someone was attacking my character. Well, people still believe it. So you gotta be careful about these things. So, as I said, AI is not new. But what is new is a specific type of AI. This is the one you've been hearing about a lot the last couple of years, called generative AI, or Gen AI for short. These are programs that can create original text, images, video, audio. They're not finding stuff on the internet, they're creating things, okay? And these are some of the big dogs in the Gen AI world. You've probably heard of ChatGPT being the biggest and the first for the most part. Microsoft has Copilot, Google has Gemini, Apple has Apple Intelligence, and there's also Perplexity, which is a really cool one that I use probably every day for research purposes. Every tech company's got one of these now. There's a race to be the best and the biggest and everything like that. So here's some of the nice things about generative AI. They're a huge time saver. They can do things in seconds that would take humans hours sometimes to do. They're usually free or cheap. All those programs I just showed you, you can use them free every day. They limit how much you can do in a day, unless you want to pay for it. But even the paid ones aren't too expensive. They're also readily available. If you got internet access, you can access these generative AI programs. And they're easy to use. You don't need any fancy like coding skills or anything like that. It's just it's a chat. It's like you're talking to a human. You just tell it things in plain English. So as great as generative AI is for some things, I'm going to show you some ways that teachers and students can use it. It's not perfect. You got to remember, it can be wrong. It can provide wrong information. It can also hallucinate, which is when it just makes stuff up. And nobody seems to know why that happens or how it does that, but it'll just make some random things up. And there's been some famous cases where lawyers have tried to like cite things from that ChatGPT told about, and they're like, that never happened. Those aren't real court cases. So, you gotta be careful there. It can also misunderstand what you're asking, what you're telling it to do. So the more you practice, the more you work with it, the better you get. If you just try it once and you're like, I wasn't impressed, you kind of got to work with it on telling it exactly what you want, refining it. So the phrase that we often use in AI is a human in the loop. So AI tools can be really helpful, they can be really great, but there still needs to be a human in the loop. You need to review the information, make sure it's accurate, make sure it meets your needs, it's personalized for what you want, okay? All AI has bias. Doesn't matter which program you're using. And the reason is because it's all created by humans, and all humans have bias, right? So great quote here. We assume AI is neutral, we assume it's not prone to human bias, but AI tools are as biased as we are because they have been trained on us. People put all that data into ChatGPT. They decided what was in there. And even if they try, we all have bias, even if we try really hard not to, we're gonna have some kind of bias. Even if it's like, this sports team is better than this sports team or whatever, it's gonna be in there. So you have to be careful when you're looking at data from ChatGPT or any other program. Okay, so that's just some basic information. I'm going kind of quick here, but if you want to talk afterwards, I'm happy to do so. Let's talk about AI and teachers, some of the ways they can use AI programs. So, I want you to take a guess here. How many hours do you think in a week teachers spend doing non-teaching tasks, like writing emails, grading, finding classroom resources, administrative work? Somebody take a guess. 30 hours. What do you think? Is that good? More? Less? Well, I can tell you as a former teacher, it's very true. You were very close, sir. 29 is that. So you're very close. Very good. Anytime you have a bunch of teachers in the room, they're like, yep, that's low sometimes, right? So, Gen AI programs can really help teachers save time. And I'm going to show you a few example prompts that I did. For example, writing emails to parents. Now, it's not going to do the whole job for you, but let's say I went to ChatGPT and I said, act as a 5th grade teacher, write an email to a parent to express your concerns with their child, may need additional help with his math assignments, offer to help him after school on Tuesdays, keep it positive, not too long. And 2 seconds later, boom. Now, it's not perfect, but it's a good start, right? I can review that, I can edit it, it'll save me a lot of time. What about when you get a not so pleasant email from somebody and you need to respond to it? That can be hard sometimes, right? Because you really want to say some things, but you don't want to get in trouble, you don't want to burn any bridges. So I pasted in an email, I made it up, but let's say Bob is really mad because his son Johnny got a bad grade on a spelling test and he thinks you're trying to trick him. What are you going to do about this? And I said, write a response from this upset parent, try to calm him down, assure him you're not trying to trick his son into failing. And there it is. Now again, Mrs. Smith needs to still read this over. She shouldn't just click send, right? But it's going to help her like, oh yeah, okay, that's how I can de-escalate this issue. This is how I can reassure Bob. Let's look at other ways. Talk about lesson planning. You can tell it, create, I was a high school English teacher, short story, I like to teach Harrison Bergeron. Say, create 10 short answer questions over the story. And you can say, focus on characterization, theme, point of view. You can say, make it multiple choice, make a short answer, make an essay, make them different variations. And boom, in 2 seconds, there they are. And I highlighted something at the bottom there. Would you like me to adjust the difficulty level or focus on different aspects? So you don't have to accept the first thing it gives you. You can tell it, and remember, you don't have to be nice. I mean, you can say please if you want to, but I don't really like these questions, or focus on this, or these are too hard, or these are too easy, and it'll refine them based on what you tell them. Also, you can upload files. I'm using ChatGPT for all these examples, but all these programs work basically the same way. So I had this old project that I used to use on my students. I had it saved on my computer. So I uploaded it and I said, review this project, suggest ways to improve it. And boom, it did. It gave me 5 ways I could improve it and give me things to consider, which were nice. I could ask it follow-up questions like, oh, what do you mean by this? And then I said, hey, create a rubric for this project. It should be worth 50 points. I used to hate creating rubrics because I'm like, I gotta figure out the numbers, boom, there it is. And then again, would you like any modifications such as weighted categories or additional criteria? And this is one of the great things, is helping out our special needs kids. Adapt this project assignment and rubric for a student who's blind, because it's a very visual project of creating something on paper. Boom. Now it's an audio or digital presentation. And there's additional accessibility options listed: Braille, text-to-speech, verbal peer review. So when you have those kids who have certain needs, and you're like, how do I adapt this so they still learn the same thing, they still get a similar experience? Ask ChatGPT. Don't put their names in there, of course, but you can ask ChatGPT for guidance. So these are just a few of the common ways teachers are using programs like ChatGPT. But if we're going to let our teachers embrace Gen AI to save time, to be more efficient, ultimately they're going to have more time for their students if they aren't spending so much time on their email and stuff like that, right? And hopefully they have some more time for their lives outside of school. They're not just lesson planning all night, things like that. They need training and they need guidance. And for the most part, it doesn't seem like they're getting that at a national level. So teachers who have received any professional development on AI, what percentage do you think? This could be like one hour session. Take a guess. You want to go for 2, sir? What percentage of them have had some professional development? 10? What do you guys think? 5 or less? It's actually 42. But keep in mind, this is any professional development. This could be like a 10-minute thing maybe or something. So they're saying, have you had any at all? I'm thinking people have had in-depth professional development is probably 10 or lower. So I think you're right. It kind of a trick question. So how about this? Schools or districts that have provided guidance on the use of AI by staff, teachers, or students. What do you think? What do you have a guess on this number? I'm not putting you on the spot every time. You nailed it that first time. Other people can say too. Yes, sir. 5%? 18. And I can tell you that there are a lot of teachers who are like, I don't know if I'm supposed to be using it or not. I haven't heard. Some of them are like, I'm using it, but I'm not sure I'm supposed to, so I'm not telling them about it. Even the students sometimes are like, I don't know. Like, are we supposed to? Are we not supposed to? So no, I'm not here to tell you how to feel about this, but I am telling you however you feel about this as a district, you need to get that message out to your teachers and then to your students, because they don't know, all right? Speaking of students, let's transition and talk about our students. I told ChatGPT to make a robot with a backpack going to school. I love the name of the school. It is spelled right, so a couple years ago it wouldn't have been spelled correctly. So this is some fairly recent data from Pew Research about teenagers and their use of ChatGPT. 79% of teens say they've heard of ChatGPT. This was an anonymous survey. The number of teens using it for schoolwork has doubled since 2023. And Black and Hispanic teens are more likely to use ChatGPT for schoolwork. I don't know why, it's just one of the facts. So they know about it, they're using it more and more for schoolwork, and we'll talk about how they're using it for schoolwork in a couple of minutes here. But I want to show you some ways that students can use it for good. One of the great ways is, especially for the elementary level, is you can role play with ChatGPT. You can say, let's role play. And you'd want to do this as a class. If you were a third grader, she would want a third grader to probably do this by themselves. But you are Abraham Lincoln. I am a third grade student. I want to ask you some questions. And ChatGPT will transform into Abraham Lincoln. And you can talk to Abe Lincoln. And you can ask him silly questions like, did you have pets? He'll even ask you questions back. Oh, do you have any pets, young one? I think it's funny. I told him I was a third grader, and then it's used the word menagerie, which maybe that's a good thing. So maybe you're like, what does that mean, right? Maybe they'll learn a new word. You can ask Abe Lincoln, what do you think about AI? And he'll say, well, in my time, we didn't have machines like that, but I do understand the importance of progress and learning. If AI can help people learn and solve problems, that seems like a great thing. However, I'd also remind folks to be cautious. With great power comes great responsibility. Sounds like Spider-Man, but one must always use tools like that for good to help humanity and never to harm it. What do you think about AI? So this is just kind of an example, but it's kind of a cool thing you can do is role play with people through history, role play fictional characters. It's kind of a cool exercise. How about this, helping you study? So I said, act as a 5th grade student. You have a big test next week over the states and capitals. Create a study plan so you get an A. Boom. Sometimes kids don't really know how to study. They're just like, I got this test and I don't know what to do about it. Here's a 7-day plan of what to do. And it tells you one by one. And again, you can refine this and say, oh, actually, I only have 5 days. And, oh, it's only on the capitals or whatever. But yeah, you'll give them a plan to work with. Here's another one. I uploaded an essay, a student essay. I said, you are my 10th grade English teacher. Read my essay and suggest 5 ways that I can improve it. It is a personal narrative. And boom, there it is. 2 seconds later. Grammar and spelling, and gives examples. Sentence clarity and structure, show, don't tell, that's a big one. Dense consistency, a stronger conclusion. It also says some nice things in there, because I said, you're my teacher, so it's not just gonna tear it up and say, you're a terrible writer. It's gonna be encouraging, right? But sometimes peer review isn't good enough, or sometimes peer review is not possible. So this is a good way to do that. How about with math? I can tell you I have 2 teenage daughters, which is why I don't have any hair. And they come home and go, oh, I got a math test and I don't remember what the teacher said, how to explain how to do it. I can take a picture of their assignment, their study guide. I can upload it to ChatGPT and say, explain the steps to solve this problem, and it'll do it. And I can sit down and go, okay, do you remember your teacher talking about this? Do you remember how to do this? Oh yeah, okay, yeah, I remember this, right? And ultimately, it gives you the answer. You can also ask it more questions if this isn't clear enough for you. Like, what do you mean cross-multiplying? What does that mean? And it will explain it for you. So these are some ways students can use ChatGPT and other Gen AI programs to help them in school. But we have to talk about the elephant in the classroom, which is cheating. Again, ChatGPT made that picture. It's pretty good. You can't count the toes on the elephant to see if it's accurate or not. I don't know how many toes an elephant has, but it looks like a classroom. One of the big concerns is cheating, right? And what's interesting is if you look through history, every time there's been a new technology, this has been a concern. In the 80s, math teachers were protesting about calculators. In the 90s, it was, there's essays on the internet. And in the 2000s, it was, everybody's using their cell phones to cheat, right? So every time there's a new technology, there's kind of this initial fear of like, should we be using this in school? Are kids just using it for bad intentions or what? So, big question, is everybody using AI to cheat? Well, Stanford did a research study and they said that basically the same number of kids who were cheating before ChatGPT are cheating now. The number hasn't gone up. So the kids who used to cheat different ways are probably using ChatGPT to cheat now, but the kids who weren't cheating still aren't cheating. And there's multiple studies that say this kind of thing, but this is a pretty legitimate one here. So yeah, we need to address it. You know, plagiarism's been around forever, right? I bet in the caveman days there were probably people copying the drawings on the walls. They're like, oh yeah, that's my drawing, right? Plagiarism is not new. There's just a new tool, a new way to do it. So we still need to teach our kids when it's right, when it's wrong to use AI, how to cite sources, when to use your own words versus AI's words, things like that. There's a right and a wrong time to do it. Back to that survey. So what are teenagers using ChatGPT for? And what do they say is acceptable? This was an anonymous survey, so hopefully they were pretty honest. 54% said it's okay to use ChatGPT to conduct research, which I think is pretty good. Perplexity, I mentioned earlier, it's really great for research because it cites its sources. You can even tell it like only use academic sources or only use recent resources, and you can actually see them there. It's really cool. 29% say it's acceptable to solve math problems, and 18% say it's acceptable to write essays. So, are they right? Are they wrong? Those are discussions that we need to be having in the classroom. But as you saw earlier, a lot of teachers and students don't know what their stance is on AI. So it's kind of hard for them to make those decisions. So what's the solution? Well, a lot of schools use plagiarism detectors when it comes to essays, mainly to scare the kids. Hopefully they're not cheating. But here's the problem. They're not very good at detecting AI. This is the classic story. Somebody put the Declaration of Independence into an AI detector and said it was 97.75% written by ChatGPT. Because it's like, oh, those words are in ChatGPT. Well, of course they are, right? So it's hard to spot. And there have been students who have been accused of plagiarism who have proven that they didn't plagiarize. It's a tricky subject. So tools like this, like Turnitin, they might be good to scare kids, but how accurate are they really? The solution is we gotta teach our kids responsible AI use, and you gotta know your students, right? So this is a classic thing. It's very basic, but it's called the stoplight method, and it's used to talk about AI in school, when it's okay to use it, when it's not okay to use it, or when it's okay to use certain ways to use it. So we need to communicate those things. Also, as a former English teacher, I can tell you, the way to detect plagiarism is to know your students, know their abilities, know them, right? If all of a sudden somebody turns in a paper that sounds like it was written, you know, by a collegiate scholar, but yet everything you've seen before is, you know, very basic, ask them what some of those words mean in there, see if they can tell you, right? So you don't really need a tool to do that. Again, that's another reason why we gotta keep the humans around. So, here's one of the big questions that is being asked around is, the world's changing, AI is growing rapidly, technology is booming, you know, we don't know what a lot of jobs are gonna look like down the road. So how do we prepare our students for a future that doesn't exist yet? Doesn't yet exist, I guess, if you want to be grammatically correct. One of the ways to look at this is the Future of Jobs report that comes out every couple of years. The World Economic Forum puts this out. It's a really fascinating read. And one of the things they ask all the big companies in the world, they say, what skills are you looking for when you're hiring in 2025? This came out in January. So I want you to think about this. If I had more time, I would have a little group discussion here, but think about what you think the top companies in the world, what skills are they looking for when they're hiring in today's day and age? What's kind? Communication. What else? Problem solving. Who else? Creativity. Do you think a lot of them are tech skills or no? Yes. Well, let's see what the list is. Here's the top 10 right here. And what's interesting is, of the top 10, only one of them is about technology, number 6. Thinking, resilience, leadership, creativity, empathy, listening, curiosity, customer service. So some people think, well, gee, should we just be teaching kids how to talk to ChatGPT all day if that's what the future is going to be like? Well, no, that's not it. We need to know how to use AI, we need to know how to work it, but we don't need to just do tech skills all day because it will do that for us, right? Again, it's kind of like with teachers. What can't it do well? That's what we need the humans for. So, are we teaching these skills today at school? Some, maybe. Should we be teaching them more? Should we be focusing on them more? Are we truly preparing our kids for college, for the workforce, for the military, wherever they're going to go? If they're not getting these skills, are they going to be prepared? Are they going to be able to get jobs? And something I often bring up is, are the things we don't need to teach so much anymore because they're already out there on the internet? Things like memorization things, right? In Missouri, they're trying to pass a bill right now that forces all kids to learn cursive by a certain grade level. And my argument is, again, this is not MSBA talking, this is Mark talking. How often do you need to know that anymore? I asked a group of that, like, well, when you write a check, it's like, when's the last time you wrote a check? Or when you need to read an old document, ChatGPT will read the document for you. Yes, sir. Yeah. Right. Yep. Absolutely, right? Because the districts might determine the curriculum, but they don't determine the standards, right? Those are forced upon you. So in some ways, you can kind of weave these into what is forced upon you standard-wise. But yeah, you're right. And how do we make those changes? You know, a lot of people who are making the laws aren't working in education. And how long has it been since they were in school, right? That's, again, I'm not picking on cursive, that's just a hot topic in Missouri right now. But people are like, well, I had to learn cursive 40 years ago in elementary school. I'm like, you think schools changed a little bit in 40 years, right? So obviously it's not gonna happen overnight. But if we're really gonna keep school relevant, that's another thing is, so many kids say, is what we're learning in school relevant today to the world that we're living in? Well, these are the kinds of things that they need. Okay, so part 4, we're doing pretty well on time. 6 things that districts can do right now with the world that we're living in AI, okay? Number 1 is set policies and procedures when it comes to AI. Now, there's a big debate about, do you create a standalone AI policy, or do you weave AI into other policies like technology use, plagiarism, things things like that. Honestly, I don't care, but it needs to be in there somewhere. That's my message to you, okay? The toolkit that I have the link at the end again, the AI toolkit, it has a couple of the sample AI policies in it if you want to look at them. Missouri has one, and we're revising it because we've gotten a lot of feedback on it that it's too strict. But it's not enough, in my opinion, and the lawyers I work with, their opinions, to just assume it's implied already. Well, we say don't plagiarize. We say use technology correctly. But if it doesn't spell out artificial intelligence in there, it gets tricky. And here's an example of why. Back in October, there was a teacher in Massachusetts who gave a history project to a student. The student used ChatGPT. It was very obvious that he used ChatGPT, so he got an F. The parents then sued the school because nowhere in their policies does it say you can't use AI, nowhere in the assignment sheet, nowhere in the syllabus does it say that. Now, I don't know how this is going to turn out in court, but you don't want your district to have to deal with stuff like this, right? So I always just say, whether you want to adopt a standalone AI policy or you want to weave it in other places, you need it fast, okay? Because every day that goes by, every school day, is another chance for something like this to come up. And also encourage your teachers to get it in their syllabi as well. Okay, bumper 2, follow the law. Good advice in general. But when you think about some of the laws that affect education, they also work with AI, like FERPA, HIPAA, COPA. A lot of it's about protecting personal data, student data. You need to be careful about what you put into AI programs because it's out there in the world once you put it out there. So as helpful as they can be, you don't want to put student names in there, personal information, things like that. Think about IDEA, ADA, things like that. How do we ensure that our students are having their needs met if they are using these programs? And also think about discrimination, right? Title 7, VII 7, yep. Doing my Roman numerals there. Title 7, things like that, dealing with discrimination. You gotta be careful with those things. So again, it's nothing new, it's just a new tool that you have to apply to these things. Hopefully your district lawyers will be able to help you with that sort of thing. And I'm guessing that you folks probably have, do you have like a legal counsel? Okay, so it's coming. Number 3, delegate authority. It's not everybody's job to keep up with all this AI stuff, okay? Maybe you want to delegate an AI coordinator, someone in the, maybe it's the IT head person, maybe it's the head librarian, somebody like that, whose job is to kind of keep up with what's going on in the AI world, what you need to be aware of, or maybe you want to form a committee to kind of decide, like, what direction do we want to go with this stuff? But it's much more effective to put this on one or a few people than just saying, everybody's got to try to figure this out together. Number 4 is educate your stakeholders. Just as I'm here to help educate you on this, there's so much ignorance around the topic of AI. Like I said, some people base it on science fiction. It seems like anytime there's AI headlines in the news, it's something really bad. There's a lot of good stuff going on too. There's a lot of misunderstandings. So we need professional development for our teachers and staff. We need to teach our kids in the classroom. You know, whose job is it to teach kids about AI? Is it the tech teacher? Is it the English teacher? Is it everybody? That's something that you need to think about. Also, your parents, your community, how are you going to inform them of what's going on with it, right? Maybe you hold information sessions. Maybe you put some information on your website, something like that. You can take stuff from our toolkit if you want. It's totally free and open, available to them. But you want to help control the message to be sure that they're getting the right message about what it is and our stance on it. Number 5 is to ensure that tools are vetted before they're used in schools. Now again, this isn't your job, but you want to designate someone to do that for you. And it can be kind of an overwhelming task because there's thousands of AI tools and they get more every day. But there's a couple of websites I do recommend. One of them is Common Sense Media, which is a great website for keeping up with AI. They actually post reviews of AI tools, like what grade level they're acceptable for, if there's any safety risks, things like that. There's also the Student Privacy Pledge, which is a pledge that major tech companies say, we are not going to collect student data, sell student data, anything like that. So, like Google, Apple, Microsoft, they're all on there as well. So, it's not legally binding, I guess, but they are saying we're pledging not to collect student data. And number 6 is, and this directly relates to the school board, review those vendors. First of all, AI is hot right now. It's gold rush. And lots of companies are trying to take advantage of that because AI is a big buzzword, right? It's funny, every time you see a commercial for a cell phone, they're like, it has AI. Like, it always had AI. People didn't care about that before. It wasn't the buzzword, right? Like, whoopee. So you're going to have vendors who are trying to sell you this amazing AI tool that can do all these cool things. But do you really need to pay for it? A lot of the stuff, I've seen districts, unfortunately I had a superintendent in Missouri come to me and he was so proud. He's like, I just signed this huge contract to get this program that will help me write happy birthday letters to parents. I'm like, you paid money for that? Like ChatGPT can do that for free in 2 seconds, right? So be sure you really need to pay for it. Also, be sure it is secure. They all say, all the websites say, we don't collect student data. We're safe, we're secure. That doesn't mean they really are. So get somebody like your IT person, get your district lawyer to grill these companies on, do you really protect these things? Or are you just saying what we want to hear, okay? Also, think about current vendors that you have, technology programs. Everybody's starting to adapt AI into what they already have. So it could be your lunch program, if you use a system for keeping track of money. It could be the gradebook program. It could be sports-related programs that didn't used to have AI, but now they have AI components. Are they keeping that data protected? Are they being sure that it's held to the same responsibilities? So be sure to ask those questions, okay? And here is my last slide. Look at that. And that's time for questions. So again, the toolkit is mosba.org/AI. Totally free resource. Also, you can email me anytime you want. This is what I do. If you're on LinkedIn, I'd love to connect with you there. There's a lot of good conversations going on about AI and education on LinkedIn. I used to just think of LinkedIn as where you go if you're looking for a job, but there's a lot of great stuff talking about the industry on there. So, if you have any questions or comments, I know I threw a lot at you, and again, the slides will be available for you, but what are you thinking?
I think they need to embrace it the way that is not going to run us over. I think there has to be guidelines and reflection. I think that we're doing a service, me personally, you're out of hours.
There's a famous, he said that we need to find ways to embrace it, or we're doing a disservice to our students. Interesting story, about a year and a half ago, the entire state of New York, the state board said, we are going to block all AI from our schools. We just aren't going there, we're not doing it. And then about 6 months later, they reversed and went the other way, because they just couldn't do it. They're like, we can't block like half the internet, right, because AI is everywhere. So instead, they're like, let's teach responsible use to our students. So, yeah, trying to ban it outright is probably not going to happen, right? Students are already using it, teachers are already using it, and they're afraid to admit it. So let's teach them how to use it the right way, right? Yes?
I'm given an assignment, and I don't really know much about it. So part of the learning about that is going out and finding the resources. And then, of course, I'm going to get some of the wording out of that to make myself, I learned something. I'm going to put that in. So then it becomes plagiarism, or is it learning?
Right, yeah.
You know, I mean, and the initiative, the thinking there, the deciding what part of that is appropriate for what you is still learning.
I think you have to ask them, what is the goal of this assignment, or this project? Is it for them to be able to write? Is it for them to be able to research? Is it for them to validate resources or to interact with technology? Like, it really depends on what the end goal is, I think. So you're right, because it's still learning. And there's so much learning that, you know, they say, get out of the way so the kids can learn on their own or discover things, right? So part of that's going to come with just kind of letting them go safely. Anybody else have anything they want to say? Yes, sir. I'll come to you.
I have 14 questions.
14 questions. Well, we've got negative minimum.
AI presentation, what insightful questions can I ask? And I've got 14 questions here, if you have time. No, seriously, there they are.
Yeah, that's good. See, that's smart. Use ChatGPT to be a good to respond to this. That's good. You want to pick one to ask randomly?
What are potential future developments or advancements in this AI technology?
Well, that's a good question. It's all changing so fast that it's hard to know how good it's going to get. As I said, it's come so far in 2 years, and they're constantly releasing new versions of things. There's so much competition with all these tech companies trying to release the bigger, better programs. So accuracy, speed, things like that are going to continue to grow, but they're still never going to be human beings, right? They're still going to have limitations. Anybody else? Anything they want to? Even if it's just a comment? Yes, sir.
The AI that you chose on there, that you said you use personally, what's your reasoning on that?
Oh, perplexity? It is, what's my reasoning, is that what you said? It's very research-based, whereas a lot of these AI programs don't really tell you where the information's coming from. This will cite sources for you. You can see right there. It'll even tell you, like, I asked it once about the weather, like, what's the most snow the state of Missouri's had in a year or something, and it said, it's important to note that this year the records were secondhand, so this may not be totally accurate. Like, it's really good about things like that. So it's not just pulling it out of the air. It's called Perplexity, if you ever want to check it out. I've kind of replaced Google searching when I want to know something with going to Perplexity, because Google is all this advertising and bots. It's hard to get what you're really looking for now. But anytime I'm just like, whether it's for work or just personal, like, oh, I wonder, I go there. So, and I don't get paid to endorse them by any means. It did make something up finally. I caught it though. I was doing a project on the importance of board member confidentiality, and I said, what are some stories about where board members violate confidentiality, their negative outcomes? And it gave me a story, and it cited sources, and it was legitimate, and then it made up another story that sounded weird, and there were no sources. So I said, did you make this up? And it's like, yes, I'm sorry. So it's not perfect, none of them are. Right. That's a lot of it, is you gotta prompt it correctly. So it's kind of funny when it apologizes to you, like, it won't happen again, I promise. So, anybody have anything else? But feel free to reach out to me if you have questions. We always update the toolkits. I do professional development for teachers as well. You guys aren't too far away, so I'd be happy to come over sometime. Yeah, anything else? All right.
That was awesome. Thank you so much, Mark. We really appreciate you driving out here and sharing, and then making sure we have access to other resources as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. So before we close tonight,
Harlana is going to do a couple drawings.
A few drawings. The first is for another free workshop. Our friends here at Seneca got one, so now our friends at Seneca 170. Are you in the house? Yeah, me too. And then for individuals, we have some $25 gift cards. And it's just a small token of appreciation from the ISB and your executive committee for making the drive and joining us this evening. So, help me out with this one. Yeah. So our first winner. Our first winner is Brian Phillips from Waltham. Is he in the house? Okay, sorry, you have to be here in a minute. Bummer. Okay, next one. Ronald Fry, come on up. Okay, Corey Yandell, come on up. Are you here? Sorry about that, okay. I'm gonna make probably frustrated. Okay, here we go. Allison Good from Peru. From Streeter High School, Steve Biroshik, who's not here either. Unfortunately, can't give it to him. Betsy Sobin from Hall. All right, Betsy. One. All right, what about Nathan Yoki from Lab? Maybe one more. Two more, okay. Austin from Peru. Okay, and our last winner this evening, Mary Ganir from Ottawa. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening. We hope you found it to be a beneficial evening. We're really appreciative again of Mark. Thank you also for all of you who won governance recognition awards. Your leadership is appreciated and seen. Really, that applies to everyone. And again, let's thank our friends here at Seneca for being awesome hosts. Yes.